we're going to be talking about parts of the ocean. One thing that sets the ocean apart from other bodies of water is that it's salt water. That means that unlike fresh water like lakes, ponds, and drinking water, salt water is made up of 3.5% salt by weight. Another important element of the ocean are the different levels that exist. According to the United States National Ocean Service, there are 3 main levels. The deepest level is the midnight or aphotic zone. Sunlight doesn't penetrate this level at all, so the zone is in complete darkness. Some marine life that you would find down here are giant squids and anglerfish. The middle level is the Twilight or Disphotic zone. Here, sunlight decreases rapidly the farther down you go, and photosynthesis is not possible, so there's not a lot of plant life. Some marine life that you might find here are shrimp and swordfish. The top level is the sunlight or euphotic zone. Sunlight can be found in all parts of this zone. Here, you'll find many of the common fish that you would think of, like clownfish, tuna, and blue tangs. The ocean has some very diverse plant life. A lot of the plants serve as food, like the algae, seaweed, and kelp. These plants are an incredibly important part of the underwater ecosystem.
Next, we're going to do an activity that shows how the different layers of the ocean separate from each other. Materials you're going to need for this activity are a plastic water bottle, blue food coloring, water, and vegetable oil. Next, you're going to fill up the water bottle halfway full with water. Next, with the parents' help, fill up the rest of the bottle with vegetable oil. Then add blue food coloring. Now that you've added the blue food coloring, seal up your water bottle really well and give it a good shake. Next, watch as the dark blue food coloring settles at the bottom and look at the gradient as you get to the top. These represent the different layers of the ocean.
Unfortunately, the ocean has become incredibly polluted with chemical waste, garbage, and oil spills. There are even areas of the ocean that are so polluted that fish cannot exist. These are called dead zones. These dead zones are growing rapidly every year. As an example of how difficult this pollution can be to clean up, let's look at an example on a smaller scale. If you want to follow along with this activity, you'll need a plastic tub, blue food coloring, oil, and water. First, you're going to want to add 2 drops, at least, of blue food coloring to your water. Next, add about a 1/4 cup of oil. Notice how the vegetable oil all pools at the top and sticks together. The oil separates from the water because oil is hydrophobic. This means that it doesn't mix well with water. Now let's try a few different methods to get the oil out of the water. First, we're going to try paper towels. Notice how the paper towel is getting wet, but I'm not actually absorbing any of the oil. It's just absorbing water. Next, we're going to try scooping the oil out with a cup. This wouldn't work in real life, most likely, because the amount of water that you're taking out of the bin is much more than the oil that you're getting out. So it's not really a sustainable process. These methods all help a little bit, but nothing really does get the oil out completely. Oil removal is a very expensive and difficult task that takes a lot of time and energy. This is why it's so important to protect our oceans and keep them clean.
Ocean currents are an important piece of the oceanic puzzle. The currents are generated by the forces acting on the water. These are the Earth's rotation, wind, temperature and salt differences, and the gravitation of the moon. There are 5 major ocean-wide currents. Each are flanked by a strong and narrow western boundary current, as well as a weak and broad eastern boundary current. They affect both local and global sea life and climate. Today we'll be doing an activity that can give you an idea of how ocean currents work. You'll need a clear baking dish, cold water, hot water, and red and blue food dye. Make sure you have a parent's supervision when dealing with the boiling water.
Yes!
You're first going to want to fill your clear baking dish a third of the way full with cold ice water and add blue food coloring. Let this sit until all the ice melts. While that's melting, boil your water and add red food coloring. Once the water is done boiling and the ice is done melting, slowly add the boiling water into the clear baking dish and see the currents form. As you pour the boiling water in, you can see how the hot water pushes the cold water, creating currents. When you're doing the experiment at home, look for eddies or circular moving currents.